All right, Coach's Corner, episode number 4. I have Coach Christian here, Seth Humphrey, and today we're going to answer the 5 most commonly asked fitness questions that we get here at the Vitality Mill. And so to kick it off, number 1 is, where should I start on my fitness journey? So with everyone, it's going to be basically the same. If you've never worked out before, then we got to get moving correctly. So with our clients that are over 40, that have probably sat down at a desk for a long time, or they've just not been moving, then what starts to happen is mobility is where we would start. So if a client comes to us, one, we're gonna get them walking, just putting their attention on their intentions and making them intentional when it comes to getting their steps in. On the other side of that, though, when they're coming in visiting us at first, it's starting that mobility. Like, if you can't raise your arm over your head, then we need to start working on mobility in our lats and really start to focus on mobility in our hips if you can't sit into a squat properly. And that's really where we would start. From there, on the nutrition side of it, depending on what your goal is, if you're trying to lose weight, then we would, when clients first get started, we make it very, very simple. We have some rules based around the nutrition, so they have some options. They can kind of find what works best for them when it comes to nutrition. So they have the options. They can kind of put the foods where they want to go as far as protein, carbohydrates, and fats, and really start to have a system where they can look at it and go, okay, this is what I'm going to have for breakfast. I'm going to have a carbohydrate, a protein, and a green. That carbohydrate is usually going to be maybe like a cupped handful, and we can look at that. It could be like a baseball or an ice cream scoop in your hand. If we looked at protein, about 6 ounces, we can go about the size of the palm of our hand or our fist. And then fats, we're looking at about a thumb print, so a couple of thumb prints as far as that. So with our clients, we really start to try to limit the fats and really focus more on hitting their protein and carbohydrates and giving them, like I said before, some rules around that so they can start to base it off of there. And that's from there, we can put them in a calorie deficit of about 25% so they can start to gain some momentum and start to drop some weight there. So not starting out difficult, not starting out hard. I think that's where most people will start, is they'll try to make it, I'm going to go for runs. I'm going to start doing my old workouts that I did back when I was a teenager and things like that. Or they go at high intensity. And for our clients, they're stressed out. They got a lot on their plate. They really just need to be getting their steps in, eating a calorie deficit, and work on their mobility. They'll start to move better, start to feel better, and then we can kind of catch that momentum and go from there. So
yeah, that's exactly what I was going to touch on, is not doing it the hard way. So you have to set realistic expectations. So a lot of people, whenever they come into the gym, they're super motivated and they think, okay, I'm going to get up at this time every morning. I'm going to go 5 days a week. And you're just kind of setting yourself up for failure in the long run because you haven't had that routine. And then you just think all of a sudden, the snap of the fingers, you're going to have that routine and want to go to the gym at 5:30 in the morning, Monday through Friday, and then you miss a day and you start to get down on yourself. So it's not setting those big goals off the jump. Just start out basic, like Seth said, just building that baseline, and then you can go from there. So just tell yourself, I'll start out 1 or 2 days a week. I'll do some stretching at night, and then once you start to get in that routine, then you can start to ramp it up from there.
Yeah,
that's what I would say. As far as number 2 goes, I get it from a lot of women, especially when they first start, is they ask me the question, will weightlifting make me bulky? If anything, like, the short answer to that is no. And if anything, I would argue it's the other direction. So whenever you start to strength training and start to build some muscle with a proper nutrition, you're going to lose some weight. So then, if anything, it's going to start to tone you up more, and you're not going to have that bulky look. So a lot of these pictures that you see of these women that are bulky, more than likely that's what they do for their profession. So they're either a bodybuilder, a CrossFit athlete, a power lifter. So they're training for that. They're on all kinds of supplements. So it's a completely different lifestyle than what you would be on. So to the short answer to that, no, weightlifting will not make you bulky.
And it's like with anything. over the years, you start to have science, and that science has data that shows you that that's not the truth. So, like, I think what happens with that bulky look that women are afraid of is they see these bodybuilders back when the Flex magazines and all the magazines where these individuals are on steroids. And so if you start to look at and go, oh, that person lift weights and they're big and bulky from back in the day, you're looking at that, well, they're on steroids. That's why you're seeing that. Or they're eating in a calorie surplus. They're eating way too many calories as far as that stuff goes. But really for our clients, it's complete opposite. Like, aesthetically, you want to look better, and when people come to me and come to Christian, they'll say like, hey, I want that, especially women, I want that toned look. All that toned look means is I'm eating in a calorie deficit, I'm strength training, and that aesthetically will make you look differently and give you that toned look where a lot of people will go and do the boot camps and the high intensity workouts, and for sure they'll drop weight pretty quick. And you can definitely drop weight, but if over time they aesthetically don't look any different, besides they've just dropped some weight, and that's where that like skinny fat, it will kind of come into play as far as that stuff goes. So strength training is vital for men, for women, especially over 40. So and it takes years and years and years to be able to get bulky, because if that was the case, men would be doing it left and right, and they have the actual makeup and genes to be able to bulk up and put on, because they have testosterone and things like that. So it's a lot of BS as far as that stuff goes. So
for sure, it just doesn't happen overnight like that. Like, me and Seth have been trying to get bulky for years, and we're still working to try to get that. So
should I take a BCAA supplements, like also like when BCAA, but also like pre-workout and things like that? BCAAs are, and I'm saying this because just the other day I went and bought some, because I'm cutting out caffeine. So since I'm cutting out caffeine, I want to have something that tastes different than water. So I'll lean on Gatorade Zero or something like that. But the other day I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to stop in and grab some BCAAs. Told the guys straight up, like, I know that they're not going to get me any kind of, it's not going to do anything special. So you're basically buying some flavored water. Now, if you're not eating enough protein, then it's one of those things that your amino acids and things that you're not getting from your protein, it could potentially help that way. But if you're eating the amount of protein that you need to be eating, and eating the foods and getting the nutrients you need, you're probably going to get your branched chain amino acids from that. So I wouldn't invest the money, even though I have recently done that. If for somebody just starting out, I wouldn't. I've wasted a lot of money over the years on supplements and things like that. When it comes like the pre-workout, it's something that it gets you kind of hyped up as far as that stuff goes. But for our clients that are over 40, they're already stressed out. Overloading with a bunch of caffeine and things like that is something that I would highly avoid, because you already are stressed out, and eating in a calorie deficit is a stressor on your body. We don't get enough rest, things like that. So for BCAAs, for me, I wouldn't spend my money, especially if I'm first getting started. If it's something that you just need to have a way to help you get more water in, then potentially maybe, but for me, it'd be a waste of money as far as that goes.
Yeah, I can definitely back you on that. You hit the nail on the head when you said nutrients. So if you're lacking the nutrients, then yes, you will notice an effect from it. For example, our office manager, he's vegan. So back in the day, or he was vegan, he's not anymore, but back in the day,
he get mad if you
yeah, I had to make sure and correct that. But back in the day, he was vegan, so whenever he would take the branched chain amino acids, he would feel the effects of it, because he wasn't getting all the nutrients he needed from his actual diet. But once he started to eat meat and started to actually get the nutrients he needed, he cut the BCAAs out, because he doesn't need it. There's not really a place for it anymore. So I can definitely back you on that. Number 4 would be, how long should I rest between sets? So this kind of depends on the exercise that you're doing. For your big compound lifts, like your bench press, your squat, your deadlifts, you're going to want to have a little bit of a longer rest time. So more in that 2 to 4 minute range. Reason for that is those bigger compound lifts, you're using more of your muscles, so the exertion is going to be a lot heavier and a lot harder on your body. So you want to make sure that you're feeling nice and rested before you go into your next set. That way you're maximizing your strength potential for every single set. And then as far as your accessory movements, so like your curls, some of those smaller direct muscle target movements, it can be more of like 60 to 90 seconds. The reasoning for that is you still want some of that muscle fatigue to be active in your muscles. You don't want to be completely rested. You just kind of want to keep that blood pumping in those muscles. That's kind of what I would say as far as time.
Yeah, I would set a clock and get my set a timer and be able to go off of that. But the majority of the time we tell our clients, hey, take a couple minutes and come back, but set that timer. We get a lot of clients that will walk around the Vitality Mill because we're wanting them to get steps in. So it's kind of a active recovery. So they're recovering, but they're also getting their steps in as far as that stuff goes. But I do think though that it's something that you want to be aware of how much time in between, because and especially if you're going to a big gym, it's really easy to go in and start playing on your phone or start talking to someone, and now you're getting way too much rest. On the other side of that, like Christian was saying though, those big time lifts, you need more time to kind of recover from that so you can really push, because what we're wanting to do is we're wanting to get to a point where we can increase the weight and increase the intensity, and if you're not fully rested, then obviously that's going to make it a lot more difficult as far as that.
Yeah, to kind of touch on that real quick, a lot of the clients, like they see with some of these big compound movements, they look at the exercise that we have on the sheet and they're like, I don't need to rest 2 to 4 minutes. Like, why am I resting 2 to 4 minutes? Well, they're just not pushing themselves hard enough weight-wise. So they're using a light weight for a big compound movement. And of course you don't want to rest because you don't feel like you've wasted a lot of energy because you're not pushing yourself how you should on those exercises. So that's something that I see all the time, and that's super important. So if you want to get muscle gains and strength gains like what we're looking for, you have to use a weight to where by the time you finish that set, you should want to take all 2 to 4 minutes.
That's especially women. Women are notorious as far as that. Is like you just think that you're picking up weights and you can do it over and over again, so you want to move right to the next exercise. That's telling me that you're not going heavy enough on the weights, and you won't aesthetically change. And ultimately, we want to feel better, look better, and have more energy. And if we're not going to, if you're not pushing the weights as far as that stuff goes, then aesthetically you're not going to change. And then it's kind of, why are we doing that? You're exercising instead of training.
Yeah.
5, should I work out if I'm under stress? It's a great stress reliever. I think that what happens with a lot of individuals is that's a story that I'm stressed out, so I shouldn't. And what you really want to look at is like, look at all the other things that you're doing. Like if you are drinking alcohol, well, that's going to be a stress on your body. If you're not getting enough rest, that's a stressor on your body. Like I was mentioning before, you're eating in a calorie deficit. That's a stressor in your body. So what I would suggest when you first get started, if it's something that you are really stressed out, is maybe we're hitting maintenance calories, and or maybe even eating in just a little bit of a surplus, so your body can start getting more rested and repaired and recovered. Putting a big emphasis on an evening routine to help you start to get to bed and be able to wake up and be more rested. But absolutely, for a stress reliever for the mind, I would definitely be working out, because it's one of those things where we need to weaponize our body to be able to feel the best that we can feel, and to be able to do the things that we need to do on a daily basis. And that's stressful if you can't perform and do the things that you need to do on a daily basis. That's going to be even more of a stress in the long term anyway.
Absolutely, yeah. What I would say is it depends on what kind of stress. So like what Seth said, if you're actually an extremely stressed out person going through some tough things, then you need to start from getting the proper nutrients, getting enough sleep. I think that's where we would start first, rather than getting you in the gym and having you work really hard in here 3 to 5 days a week. I think we need to look at what you're doing outside of here to set you up for success with that, with your sleep, your nutrition. But as far as stress, like if you just went through a breakup or something like that, now that's that's something where you could come in, work out, blow some steam off, just two different kinds of stress. So kind of have to evaluate where you're at stress-wise and then break it down from there.
If you're over 40, I would highly suggest staying away from the high-intensity workouts. That's where most people are. They sweat, and so since they're sweating, they think that's going to help them and benefit them more. In actuality, it's causing you more stress on your body as far as the high intensity stuff. That I would go more towards the strength training, getting your steps in, and then really focusing on sleep, and then like we said, get kind of a maintenance calories, and so you can start to recover and feel better that way. As far as that, have anything else?
Absolutely, that's all I got, man.
That's all we have for the day. Episode 4 is in the books. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to comment below.